Hi everyone and welcome to Beat the Rush. My name is Sofia and today we're baking these tasty next level vegan meat pies. We'll be using the next level vegan mince, which is a meat substitute you can find at LIDL. I reviewed the next level vegan mince last week. You can check out that video to learn a little bit more about this product as well as my thoughts on it and some recipe ideas. I'll link the video in the description below and in the cards above. Let's start with one bell pepper. I'm using half yellow and half red, but use whatever you have at hand. Remove the seeds and the stem and chop into big chunks. Peel and chop one onion. The same goes for 2 garlic cloves. You can miss everything if you don't like big chunks of veggies in your food, but I like to keep the veggies pretty chunky. Add about 1 tablespoon of olive oil to a large pan. Then add the onion, bell pepper and garlic. I use 150 grams of mince for this recipe, but you don't have to measure it, just add a bit more than half the amount in the package. I froze the remaining mince because I wanted to test how it freezes. I have since cooked the thawed mince and it was still pretty good. Add the mince to the pan and let it cook for 10 minutes on medium heat, mixing every once in a while. The mince already contains some salt, so be careful not to oversalt it. I'm adding 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt, 1/4 of a teaspoon of pepper, 1 teaspoon of paprika and 1 teaspoon of dried oregano. I will link the recipe with all the measurements in the description box below. Then add 2 tablespoons of tomato paste and half a cup of wine. You can substitute with the same amount of water if you prefer. Let it cook for 2 more minutes and then transfer to a plate to cool for 10 minutes. At this point, get the puff pastry out of the fridge and let it stay at room temperature while the pie filling cools. I got the vegan puff pastry at Lidl because what don't I get at Lidl? It's my favorite place to get things. But I'm sure you can find some at your favorite place. And you may use regular puff pastry. You may even make it yourself, in which case I do admire your dedication. Now it's finally time to assemble our pies. It would actually be much more efficient to just cut puff pastry rectangles as I did in this previous video. But I'll be honest with you, I needed an excuse to use these cute silicone molds. Guess where I got them? Also, this way I can show you how I use my leftover pieces of puff pastry. But first, let's cut the puff pastry into circles a little bit bigger than the molds. Then, line the silicone molds with the puff pastry circles and cut any excess dough. Divide the filling between the pies. Then, cut more puff pastry circles and place them on top of the pies. Press the edges of the pies and then use a fork to make pretty marks all around. Cut 2 holes on top of each pie. Brush the pies with a bit of soy milk and place them in a 200-degree oven for 20 minutes or until the pastry is puffy and golden. While the pies are in the oven, let me show you how I deal with the puff pastry leftovers. In a small bowl, I mix some olive oil, garlic powder and thyme. I usually prefer oregano, but I happen to have some extra time on my hands. I brush the puff pastry pieces with this mix and then twist them into different shapes and place them in a baking sheet. Then all you have to do is place them in a 200-degree oven until puffed and golden. About 10 minutes later, you'll have a tasty and crunchy snack. The pies are looking delicious, but we need to go through the crunch test. These are really tasty and you can have them hot or cold. Click this video for more delicious food and click here to subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching and see you next time.